Hello everyone, Dynamode here. It's an appreciation post and statement about the comic book character Storm. I wanted to point out that anything video game related involving the Marvel properties, you almost always see this weather goddess in the forefront, especially when it comes to the crossover style of various gaming genres and their collaboration efforts between different developers with their own unique spin on the character. What I'm saying is, she is always the first pick when it comes to these things. Here in this article on the PlayStation blog post about Arc Systems Works' upcoming fighting game, Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, reading this piece inspired me to create this video. It says here, Arc producer Takeshi Yamanaka states, "There are so many amazing Marvel characters that it was quite a struggle to choose our roster, but we did have some criteria for the selection process. First and foremost, we wanted to include characters who we feel to be the face of Marvel. At the same time, we also needed to select characters that would give us balance of battle types and styles. Lastly, we wanted to sprinkle in a few surprises and leave room for characters who have never been a playable indie fighting game before." Then the rest of the article goes on about art direction and gameplay mechanics. Anywho, this sentence right here correlating to Storm, this producer speaks true. She is in fact one of the faces when you think about Marvel in general. She was in cartoons, film, action figures, and so many crossover related products. Storm is that iconic when it comes to representation of the X-Men, a person of color, and a mutant who fights for a cause. Storm is easily the most recognizable character. Specifically, when someone thinks of X-Men, a common spectator outside the comic book community would argue that Wolverine is the most popular character, right? He debuted in the Incredible Hulk comic. He's got a cool aesthetic, awesome powers, metal sharp claws, and a regenerative healing factor. He was a total badass, but his reputation didn't rise to prominence until the late 80s to the entire 90s, because it was due to the shift in the comic book industry of wanting more anti-heroes, or morally gray characters. Storm, on the other hand, who debuted in Giant Size X-Men issue number 1, May 1975, has always remained the same person over the past 5 decades. Always known for her graceful demeanor, her roles as a mentor, and her distinct character design with her dark skin and contrasting white flowing hair. Most of all, her power to control the weather, godly and versatile, and yet near limitless level of creativity. With that said, she is always among the first choice when it comes to game design. This is why I brought up the article about Marvel's Tokon. The developers recognize Storm as a symbol of anything related to the X-Men. Yeah, sure, I mentioned Wolverine before, but both Storm and him are technically synonymous when it comes to mainstream recognition. And it's not just me gushing all over Storm, it's literally the truth. As you can see in upcoming game, Marvel's Cosmic Evasion, a beat-em-up title, you see Wolverine and Storm. They're both always the first pick that's related to the X-Men. And then Marvel Rivals, you see her. She's not an additional character later on in the season, she was in the initial roster. Same thing with Midnight Suns and Mystic Mayhem. In other words, Storm is always the initial roster of every game. She is never added later just like other characters. She's always the first pick, first of everything. Alright, thank you all for watching. Dynamode out.